just getting ready to rumble here as they get lined up to play. Yikes. For those of you that only play best of one on Arena, this is what a regular hand looks like. Sometimes you have to mulligan them. I would not be surprised to see that exact thing happen here.
Yeah, can't keep that hand. Splatter Goblin good in the matchup.
Now there's a hand. Get rid of the queen, and you're ready to go. Now, how does Tristan Wylde-LaRue's hand look? That's the real question for me, because I want to see if he can curve out. He's got Yavimaya Steel Crusher on the 2, so he does have 2-drop into 3-drop into 4-drop here, Paul. It's hard to ask for much more than that.
Yeah. And Mike's hand is okay. Still going to need to peel off a couple of extra lands here to kind of cast what he has in his hand. The Destroy Evil also will have a target here. Tristan Wylde-LaRue has 3 copies of Coalition Warbrute in his deck.
Those are going to suck up those Destroy Evils. It's also worth noting here that, you know, oh, this is interesting. So he drew his Weatherlight Completed. Not normally a card that you would put into a deck like this. My assumption is that Tristan just didn't have any better options and said, okay, fine, I'll just run this thing. But in an aggressive deck, you really do want to play cards that immediately affect the board, either attacking, blocking, combat tricks, removal, something. And Weatherlight Completed doesn't fit that description. It's more of a kind of, it would actually be better in Mike's deck.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be actually pretty solid in Mike's deck for sure. And Tristan there not looking to get that trade here with the 2/2s, opting to keep that Steel Crusher in play because next turn, I was going to say crew, but we're going to enlist the Steel Crusher there onto the Berserker, making it into a nice 3/3 attacker.
Yeah, as it turns out, both of the creatures here in Tristan's board have enlist, but the Phyrexian Vivisector doing a good job. Mike had to make a decision on whether to cast Phyrexian Warhorse just as a 3/3 or to keep up Extinguish the Light. Generally speaking, in Limited these days, you kind of have to use your mana. Like, that was a decision on which of these two am I going to cast this turn. It's not common that you find a situation where Mike could just let 4 mana be unused for the turn. Let's see if he finds one here, though.
And we might see an Extinguish the Light in response to the Enlist trigger. So Tristan attacking with the Berserker, going to crew it, enlist it, and kill it because you do not want to kill it after the trigger resolves, because then the Berserker can deal 3 damage to any target, potentially killing the Vivisector that Sigrist has in play.
That's right. Mike's going to gain 3 off of that and then take 1 from the Berserker trigger. But this means no damage coming in for the turn. And with effectively two 5-drops in hand here for Mike, he'd love to just see an untapped land. And if he doesn't find one now, he has a target for Destroy Evil. I think he's going to opt to be mana efficient here, but we'll find out.
Yeah, likely going to just play out the Warhorse here. One interesting thing is Mike likely does know about the Molten Monstrosity in Tristan Wylde-LaRue's deck, so there might be some consideration to just killing the Warbrute so you can't get that discount. But, I mean, that's only 1 Monstrosity, and you're just leaving a lot of mana on the table here.
Yeah, also interesting to note is that Tristan's a little bit light on combat tricks. Normally you see quite a few. He has Furious Bellow that he can use to help win a combat, but you know, he's not exactly stacked up on combat tricks, and by the way, he doesn't have it in his hand.
Now if Tristan attacks with the Warbrute and crews and Mike doesn't go for a double block here, then we're looking at a 5-power Warbrute, which means that Molten Monstrosity is going to cost 4 mana here. Whatever Tristan chooses to do, he will be able to play one of those big creatures in his hand.
He's going to go for Sprouting Goblin and Argivian Phalanx. A very nice turn here for Tristan. That is what the Phalanx is great at. It lets you double spell for a turn. And now he can sort of just haphazardly throw this Coalition Warbrute in and say, I'd trade for some stuff, fine.
Right. Mike will get a couple of scries here with that Vivisector in play, probably looking for a Cruelty of Gix, right? Got 2 scries. And heads up play here from Tristan Wylde-LaRue. I know this means that you don't have combat tricks available to you, but by playing the creatures out first, you guarantee that you can play out that Phalanx this turn, because of course, if Mike did choose to double block, then all of a sudden you wouldn't be able to play 2 creatures this turn.
Mike's going to put a land on the bottom. He's tempted slightly by Shalai's Acolyte mana, but he's digging for Cruelty of Gix here. Make no mistake about it. Ooh, that would have been nice to peel right there, but he didn't. He did find Aaron Benali's Ruin, which looks okay here, but he's fallen behind pretty quickly.
Yeah. And can play out the Acolyte here. Will probably be taking the hit from the Phalanx. Could also just, again, go for the double block. Could leave up Destroy Evil on the Phalanx and go for the trade here with the Vivisector on one of these 2/2s.
Does seem to be the game plan here for Sigrist.
I wonder if Tristan wants to run out the Weatherlight here first. Although it's interesting, if Tristan does cast a Weatherlight in response, you might see Mike just run out the Destroy Evil. And if he does, then Tristan won't be able to cast the Molten Monstrosity.
Oh, you're right.
So maybe you just play the Monstrosity first anyways, and then play out the Weatherlight.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what he's going to do. So Molten Monstrosity goes on the stack. It is going to resolve. Now, the downside to this, of course, is that Mike gets to choose. Does he want to kill the Phalanx to get that thing out of the way and take less damage now? Or does he want to take out the Molten Monstrosity to take the bigger threat off the board for later?
The problem is Mike has a lot of ways to make chump blockers, which means you can potentially do some chump blocking on the Phalanx, but the Monstrosity has trample.
Right. So he is going to live for the future here, Mike, a long-term planner. And, of course, he does this with Weatherlight completed on the stack so that it doesn't pick up a counter.
And Mike will happily block the Steel Crusher here.
Yes, not quite a forced trade, but effectively so. So they're going to trade off that.
Oh.
And there's Cruelty of Gix. Now, unfortunately for Mike, now he can look ahead here, but he's not going to get full value as Tristan's out of cards.
Yeah, what's the biggest creature in the graveyard? Remember, you can get a creature from, I believe, any graveyard.
You can. It's either graveyard, yeah.
So,
he could get it straight away if he wants.
Oh, and he killed the Monstrosity.
He did.
Right? So you can get a 5/5 here if you want.
He could just get a 5/5, or if he wants to play with fire.
It's a lot of damage, Marshall. I know what you're going to suggest.
He could take 3 + 4 + 2.
That's 9 damage.
But he could get any card in his library.
No. Okay, he's like, no, I got another one of these. I don't need to get full value.
Fair.
It's like, you know what, I'm just going to play this 5/5. Good luck, Tristan.
Yeah, and there's a Lightning Strike. That could help out here as well, but I think we're going to see Sprouting Goblin get activated. And it's 2/2. Juniper Order Root Weaver here for Tristan. Means no attack, though, from Tristan Wylde-LaRue. So that play from Mike really did help stabilize him, and now he gets a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, and Tristan,
a little awkward here to draw a Swamp. He still can't cast Aaron, so he may just need to play Shalai's Acolyte, even though waiting another turn would be tempting for him.
Right. Tristan did have the option of 2-for-1ing himself, right? Attack with the Goblin, hope Mike blocks, and then finish off the Monstrosity with a Lightning Strike. That was something that he could do. However, Tristan could also just be drawing to the 2 copies of Destroy Evil that he is in his deck. That's a much cleaner way to deal with this Monstrosity. And Mike's at 17, right? You're in no hurry to 2-for-1 yourself at this point in the game, because if that happens, then Mike's just going to win on card advantage.
Yeah, also worth noting that given the relatively low curve from Tristan Wylde-LaRue, activating Sprouting Goblin is just great for him here. Like, he can do it again next turn, even not finding a land, and still be able to cast effectively everything in his deck.
I think his curve tops out at 4.
It does.
Right?
Technically the Monstrosity, but everything else, yeah. It's the War Brute curve topper for him.
Right.
And Mike has to sort of reluctantly cast Shalai's Acolyte here. It just didn't make sense to do nothing this turn. It just felt too risky, even though waiting a turn could get him the 2+1/+1 counters on it if he finds another land.
Yeah, it's just, if Tristan finds a Destroy Evil, it's just so painful,
really
right? Just
bad.
To have no other things in play. And Mike actually cannot cast that Aaron in hand.
Nope.
And Citizen's Arrest also not an ideal draw.
And
right?
he's got 3 of them. Yeah, this is tough. The second white mana not coming is really starting to punish Mike, but right now he is still stable. He will not be taking any damage this turn, so there is yet hope for him.
And you will see the power here of the Argivian Cavalier, right?
Brutal.
It's not just a 3-mana 2/2 that makes a 1/1, which is already a good card.
Yeah.
Right? But next turn, we're going to see potentially a forced trade here
Yes.
if he just attacks with the Cavalier and enlists the Argivian Phalanx.
Right, he might have to throw Shalai's Acolyte in front of the Cavalier.
Right.
It's tough.
Doesn't feel great.
And that Swamp has to be the worst draw in the deck here for Mike Sigrist. Just absolute misery for him. He needs a second white source to be able to cast anything here, but it's also the potential that you mentioned. You know, as his library gets lower and lower, the percent chance that he draws one of his Citizen's Arrest goes higher and higher.
Yeah, this Sprouting Goblin doing a lot of work here for Tristan. And remember also, there is that little ticking time bomb there. The Weather Ship on the side here, only on 1 counter, but we see some trades and the games go a little longer. All of a sudden, you're going to have a giant 5/5 flyer in play.
That's right. And there's really no bad top decks here for Tristan. You know, he finds a mountain, you think that's not great, but Sprouting Goblin is absolutely carrying him through the mid to late game. And let's see what he finds with it. Ooh, Tori Dominant, that's a nice pickup. He can cast it too.
Yeah. Cast it this turn, likely going to see an attack for 6 here from the Cavalier. Siggy probably is going to put this Acolyte in the way. Won't feel good about it. But that is the only creature that can actually attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least based on what you see on this board. This monstrosity is doing an excellent job of just kind of holding the fort.
And we see that Weatherlight completed trigger yet again. It's up to 2.
And bottoms.
Right to the bottom, so full value here for Tristan. Weird game.
Yeah, Tristan actually out-grinding Mike here.
He actually is. Yeah, Sprouting Goblin's been the absolute all-star. Finally a second white source here for Sigrist. But unfortunately for him, all it means is he gets to cast Aaron, and that's not actually that great here. It's just a 3/3 on the board, and it's worth noting that Tristan has Lightning Strike as well.
Yeah, Tristan has a Lightning Strike. Now, this Tori still doesn't have a great attack here, right?
No.
You're going to run it just into the Molten Monstrosity. So,
but it could be worth Lightning Strike Aaron and just ship it.
Right.
+1/+1 to everybody else. All the red attacking creatures are going to get trampled, and the white ones get untapped, effectively get vigilance. Yeah, look at this. A huge attack now for Tristan Wylde-LaRue, sending in the squad. But some efficient blocks here available for Mike.
Yeah, and by not Lightning Striking ahead of time, this makes me think that Tristan just goes, you know what, I really just need to get this monstrosity off the battlefield, right? If I do that, then this Phalanx can get in next turn through that Aaron.
Mm.
However, one other thing he could have considered here, he's not casting the Warbrute, right?
No.
You could have just sacrificed the land to see if you draw Destroy Evil.
True.
Right?
True.
And then just go for that instead.
Yes, and you still have enough mana for the Warbrute next turn and to cast Lightning Strike this turn that way. All right, but that's the 4th counter on Weatherlight completed, and it is up and running.
Ready to go.
That does not happen very often in this format, but there it is. And another Plains off the top here for Sigrist, and that might just be it for him. He is facing lethal damage at this point. He's considering throwing the land on the battlefield just to show Tristan, I flooded out. But he doesn't even do that.
All
Takes
these
the
lands.
high road. All right, that's going to be game number 1 going to Tristan Wylde-LaRue. That game played out very strangely. Tristan drew 2 of his long game cards with Sprouting Goblin and Weatherlight completed, and they both mattered a lot.
Yeah, and you know, Mike didn't draw a lot of his ways to generate a bunch of tokens. So again, you saw the power of the Cavalier on Tristan's side, just anything honestly with the list, just being able to just eat through and kind of trade up on mana.
You know, I think the real crux there was the fact that Mike's Cruelty of Gix had to just get a 5/5 and zoom up to chapter 3. If he had had the time to get a card out of his library that was a removal spell or a card draw spell and then get the 5/5, we're looking at potentially a much different scenario than the one that played out.
Yeah,
you know, Shadow Prophecy, right? And then do that. But, you know, the pressure that Tristan's able to apply says you don't get time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, that was the other option, right? You go Cruelty of Gix, maybe get another one, right? Next turn, you're still going to get that 5/5. You get the monstrosity. You take a bunch of damage, but then just kind of hope for the best. And maybe it's one of those situations where you're behind enough on the board where you just kind of have to go for the slightly riskier play to get value. But I think it was a really close call there. You know, Mike just thinking, look, my deck probably is just a little bit better suited for the long game.
Yes.
So I'm just going to protect my life total and just get that 5/5 in play as quickly as possible.
It's worth noting that Tristan was out of cards at that point as well, so a 5/5 theoretically stabilizes you fully, and it was really the Sprouting Goblin that took over that game. I mean, he drew 3 extra cards from it. It's really well suited to his list. It's funny to say that because he can't even kick it, but it's really, really well suited to a low curve deck, right? His 2 most expensive cards have significant modifiers that make them cheaper, right? In each case, he paid like 2 and 3 mana for them, and beyond that, he curves out to 4. Yeah, I would take that Weatherlight completed out if possible.
Oh, bringing in some stall for times here, and an island, getting a little creative here.
What else is the island for, I wonder?
I think it's just the kicker on the stall for time.
Whoa.
He does have the 2 red-white lands. Gives him a little bit more flexibility there.
All right, a potentially floody situation here for Tristan, but he does have, oh, sorry, I didn't see the second Cavalier. Nice opener. 2 drop, 3 drop, 3
You did
drop.
it because he just drew it.
Oh, because he just drew it, okay. Yeah, so he kept Samite Herbalist into Argivian Cavalier, but then drew another one. Balduvian Atrocity is just going to have to hit the board as a 2/3 manage here for Mike Sigrist as he passes the turn back over to Tristan.
Yeah, and Cavalier's going to do some work here.
This is going to be a very large board very, very quickly. Now, Mike does get to add his own tokens to the board, and this really could gum things up. I mean, you know, Captain's Call against Argivian Cavalier's pretty good. He can just cash in 2 of the tokens to take out and still have a card left over, or a token left over, I should say.
If Tristan wants to just continue digging here, might still be willing to make that trade. Remember, he's going to enlist the Herbalist, allowing him to gain a life and scry.
And Mike has to decide 2 tokens or an Atrocity. He's going to go for double token block here.
Tristan already setting up for that late game again, topping a Goblin Picker.
Keldon Strike Team has proven to be a very, very well-suited common for this format. You get up to 5, and boom, you're in there.
I mean, it's a 5-drop, Marshall. Like whoever plays that thing on turn 3.
Yeah, it's only if you have nothing else to do, right? Like, and even then, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Because it just trades off for a token or whatever.
Exactly.
Good curve here, though, from Sigrist. He's been able to use up all of his mana after turn 3.
And as you can see there, there's a different swamp in Mike's hand, which tells me that Mike likely boarded out the green here, right? And decided to play the Atrocity, which is a guaranteed 3-drop that gets in the way of the really low curve of Tristan's deck.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't have time to be messing around with extra value.
Tristan just needs to keep fighting through these tokens. So he goes, all right, this time I'm going to trade my Cavalier for your 2/1/1s or the Atrocity, your choice.
Same thing as last time. And Mike was happy to trade off 2 tokens before, and it looks like he'll do the same here.
Which is nice for Tristan because at least given what's on the board, now your Keldon Strike Team can attack and will have to trade with a real creature.
That's right. Okay, Goblin Picker. Does he play the land? He does,
Yeah.
because why? I don't actually know.
Well, he's got the Strike Team.
He does
And-
need to play it at some point, so I guess
Right,
may as
and
well
if he
now.
top decks a Devastator, perhaps he just wants to get in for 5.
Sure. Yeah, we haven't seen that yet from Tristan Wylde-LaRue, but his best card is Shivan Devastator. And even though Mike has a lot of removal, that's the kind of card that can close out a game very, very quickly.
Now, does Mike want to start attacking?
Looks like he's going to get chippy here.
I can't really imagine Tristan blocking here.
No, Tristan doesn't have any obvious blocks.
Right.
He would basically have to lose 3 of his creatures.
There is the tech.
But no blue. Still,
Yeah.
you can cast it.
I don't think there's enough here for Tristan to run out the stall for time.
No, he's in a bit of an awkward situation. The board isn't set up for any of his cards particularly well.
Right.
The strike team isn't quite at the ready with the 1/1 token sitting there.
Oh, you still get the scry here.
He is taking advantage of the Samite Herbalist. It's
doing some work.
It really is. You know, Tristan's really been able to kind of find some niche cards to put him through in the mid game. Mike's happy to just keep trading him. He's still at a clean 20 here.
No clean target here for Destroy Evil from Tristan's side.
And there's the All-Star.
Got some filler. Got some filler here.
Automatic Librarian.
All right.
But this Mike is attacking for a heck of a lot here. Down to 14 goes Tristan.
He is now the beatdown.
He is. And he's got a nice turn here as well, even with just automatic Librarian.
Oh, that's so...
That's awkward.
Yeah. He's
taking a look at his mana scenario.
It's like, do I want to bottom both?
Right. That is actually a weird option here, but he's going to choose against it.
Okay.
His mana has been really uncooperative thus far.
Yeah. I mean, his mana isn't great, right? It really isn't. I mean, you're a 2-color deck, but the Citizen's Arrest, it's a powerful card. But because of that restricted casting cost, I mean, you see why it doesn't necessarily perform as well as you might expect it to.
Okay, so this could get scary here for Mike because he just had his 2 creatures tapped down, and if we see that Keldon Strike Team come in with Kicker, you know, yeah, okay, the 1/1 can trade off for it, but that's a heck of a lot of damage otherwise.
Had Tristan drawn a land, he could have kicked the Strike Team and run out the Phalanx this turn.
Oh, that would have been really good. So what's his plan instead? He's going to play Juniper Order Root Weaver just as a 2/2 and then the Phalanx. So he's trying to set up. But this does mean that, you know, this window that he created isn't going to be devastating, right? Like, Tristan gets to chip in here, but if Mike gets to trade off his 1/1 for this Herbalist, he'll be happy with that, and he'll only take 2 this turn.
And this was actually really great for Tristan because now if Mike wants to get aggressive with the Warhorses, he's going to need to sacrifice a creature, which then will give it 4 toughness for Destroy Evil to get turned on.
Oh, that's true. Well, I'm curious to see if Mike wants to jump into that particular fray. Now, he can Destroy Evil pre-combat.
Yeah, Destroy Evil pre-combat and then attack with both, and then Tristan might be in one of those situations where he's thinking, look, if you have something, I'm so behind on board here with your horses that like I just kind of have to go for a double block.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm curious to see what Mike does here because it is a bit of a blowout given that now we're looking at actual creatures being sacked. Like, does Mike, let's say there's a double block, does Mike say, sure.
Right.
I'll trade my horse for your Goblin Picker.
Well, with this attack, Tristan can just block the X2s, but look at this, he's going for the double block.
And I bet you Mike just says, sure.
Yeah. There's 2 Destroy Evils in Tristan's deck.
Yeah.
And Tristan kept up that 2 mana.
Yeah. I think Mike's going to say, I'm not the one. I think he's going to say,
he's like, you called my bluff.
Yeah, you got it. I'll trade for your Goblin Picker. And, you know, to be fair, that is a favorable trade for Tristan. He would prefer to trade Picker for Warhorse, but Mike is like, I'm not the one. Right. I'm not falling for this nonsense. You can just take a bunch of damage, and I'll get a 1-for-1 out of the deal. Thank you very much. And that Citizen's Arrest still on top of the library.
Does get a Citizen's Arrest, and Mike can't really play around Destroy Evil now, right? You had the Citizen's Arrest.
You mean Evils?
Destroy Evils, excuse me. But it's going to be difficult now. I think Tristan's going to have to play some defense here.
He is facing lethal, so yes.
So you might see the Arrest here on the Strike Team potentially if he wants to get aggressive, but I think Tristan may be stabilized here now.
It's interesting because if he does use the Arrest on the Strike Team and attacks with everything, Mike could just have his board cleared away here.
Right.
Like, he's one, you know, Tristan would be 1 creature short of just trading off literally everything. And he could leave Mike with like a 2/2.
Yeah, and Tristan can get his creature back with the Destroy Evil, right? So, I mean, Tristan, but, you know, Mike, however, if he does go for this attack and clear the board, get a lot more looks at Cruelty of Gix.
Cruelty of Gix ×2. I mean, they're just sitting there in his library waiting to be drawn.
And one nice thing, at least if you're Mike's side, is you don't have to be scared of probably the most frightening card when you play against red-white aggro, which is the Heroic Charge, right?
Yep.
Tristan does not have one in his deck.
Yeah, Mike is thinking about other stuff, like the Devastator or something like that would be the worst case, and he can survive that for a while. Mike's facing a very difficult decision, though, because he says, okay, if I take out the strike team, I attack with everything, you can put like 2/2 and a 1/1 on my Warhorse.
Yeah.
And then you can put 2 1/1s on the 3/2, and then sure, just take the 2 damage, and we're down to a 2/2 versus a 1/1. But as it stands, I believe that this is a scenario that is similar to the one you described in the first game, Paul, where Mike says, I'm favored in the long game most likely, especially here, because look, Tristan doesn't have any sprouting goblins or anything like that going on, so he's going to sit.
Right, and the difference between this game and the last game is Mike is not behind on board this time, right? Tristan doesn't have a whole lot of combat tricks, right? Those 1/1s just don't do a whole lot, right?
Right.
Unless Tristan draws something like a Tori that he has in his deck. So Mike can just now wait, go, look, the longer this game goes, I have the one answer for your Giant Flyer in my hand, and I'm just going to try to find that cruelty. Now keep in mind though, Mike does have to be aware that Tristan very likely has at least one Destroy Evil in his hand.
Yes.
So he knows that he might not get full value from that cruelty.
He may need to cruelty immediately chapter 2 into another cruelty to try to chew through Destroy Evil. He, of course, can just do chapter 1 and effectively trade off Destroy Evil plus a card. That would work too, but it wouldn't leave him with the Cruelty of Gix in hand. So
Mike's just like, I want this scry here. That's what I'm looking at.
I think you're right. I think he just wants to dig for cruelty. Oh boy.
Not a bad card.
I think that would be too difficult to turn down, but it is certainly not the card that like changes the game here.
Right.
There's that island.
Mike's gonna be like, wait, what is this for?
I want to see Mike's face when the island hits. I guarantee he'll go right over to the deck list and be like, what is happening right now?
I wonder if Tristan just wants to kind of sandbag it until he draws the other stall for time, right?
Yeah, that could be
There's
true.
no reason to necessarily reveal. Although he's already cast one stall for time, so playing an island doesn't really give away that much, right?
True.
Yeah.
And, with Shivan Devastator in hand, you do want to play your lands. And Mike gave us a little look there. All right, there's LS El Core. Fine. Would have been really sweet earlier in this game with all that trades and stuff happening, but
now Mike, a little bit happier to attack here because you get a little extra value here with Elas in play. Whittle down Tristan's life total here. Down to 3.
And a Scry 1 on the way out here, and thank goodness, because Mike Sigrist did not want to see another Plains.
Yeah, Tristan may have wanted to consider at least chumping there.
Yeah, he's in dangerous territory now with LSL Core on the battlefield. This could get really, really sketchy here. Let's see if Sigrist can find a way to close out the game, or if Tristan can find an answer. Oh, extinguish the light off the top of the library.
Get out of here, strike team.
That's going to be the green light. And that'll also make LSL Core lethal as well.
And do you just arrest the token here?
I think so.
Right? Just kill the 3/1, arrest the token. You're like, you probably have Destroy Evil, but if I arrest the token.
I think in my mind, I would assume that Tristan has one Destroy Evil in hand minimum.
Right. Perhaps a combat trick.
Right, something like that.
Just have to chump.
Yeah, Tristan's in full emergency mode here. Not much he can do.
I don't think he can find anything here.
that
it literally stalls for time.
Exactly, stall him for time. And he has the kicker. Interesting draw.
But needs to find multiple things here,
He
right?
does. Oh, and there's a Cruelty of Gix finally showing up off the top of the library for Mike Sigrist, though. Feel like he doesn't need it this game, but he'll certainly take it.
Does Mike have anything that gives him some reach here? Can he just tutor for something
that's an interesting question.
deals some damage? Sure, I mean, if you just find some creatures, that's enough, right? If you find some creatures and you sack it to the Warhorse, that'll do it. Or you can just start chaining these. You're like, look, I'm gonna fight through these Destroy Evils one way or another.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything he can get. I think LS Ilkor would be the best thing, regardless. So let's see what he does.
Which mode?
Oh, maybe there's a haste creature?
You get the strike team.
The strike team.
Right.
Oh, steal your strike, team. How rude. That's a nice one, though. Mike says, I've always wanted to play that card.
Yeah, that's a solid creature you have over there.
He does not draft that creature very often, I wouldn't think. All right, game number 3 between Tristan Wylde-LaRue and Mike Sigrist coming up. We're at the Magic the Gathering World Championship. This is the 28th iteration of such. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. We've got the whole crew here down in Las Vegas for Magic 30. Things are getting warmed up here on a Friday. The hall is not yet open to the public, but I believe in about an hour and a half it will be, and we'll be seeing Magic fans gathering once again.
Very exciting, Marshall.
It's electric in here for sure.
Yeah.
But we've got business to take care of here, Paul. We've got the draft portion of our World Championship. If you're just tuning in and you're getting caught up, we're doing Dominaria United Draft here to kick off day 1. That'll close out the limited portion of the event, and it'll be constructed for the rest, but that's actually split over 2 formats. We've got Standard and Explorer to bring you as well. All right, the decider. You know, it's only 1 round, but you gotta feel the pressure here just of like, I really want to get off to that good start for my World Championships, be in that great mental state.
And you know, these are 2 of the better decks, I believe, at the table.
It does
seem so. Going head to head here. Now, Tristan, great hand, but of course, we'll need some lands here.
Yeah, this is actually one of the more expensive openers that Tristan can find.
That was great, right? You just want to make sure you get to land number 4 here.
Phyrexian Missionary, one of the better uncommons in the set. It's a little less so for Tristan because he can't kick it, but still 2/3 lifelink for 2 is great.
Do you just get in for 2 here? In the air? Do we make a 2/2 flyer? Oh, beat downs here.
Wow, I wonder if I would do that. I think I would.
Yeah, I mean, look at his hand, right?
Yeah, I just think there's just nothing else coming. Interesting attack there from Mike.
And Tristan, really, really big draw this turn, right?
He hits the land.
Hitting that land, making sure you can run out one of your 4 drops here.
He's going to go with Coalition War Brute. Oh, but there's Citizen's Arrest. And it's going to need to be a chain of cards like that here for Mike Sigrist because he does need to take out some of these attackers. Now, there's an interesting choice here, Paul. The Flyer currently unchecked, but it's only 2 damage per turn. He could theoretically double block the War Brute and get out of this mess, but it would take down both of his creatures.
Yeah, I think basically there are 2 options here. You either go with the Phalanx, just to kind of have a 4/4 body in play here, or you just go, look, I'm going to kill the Flyer or the 3/4 this turn. And then next turn, I can just go Captain's Call into Phalanx.
Mm-hmm. I think I like actually just casting the Phalanx here. That effectively mitigates the Coalition War Brute and means you're probably just going to take 2 plus a little bit of trample damage this turn. It also opens up the possibility of double spelling next turn with Citizen's Arrest plus a 2-drop if you draw 1. I think it's a close decision.
Yeah. Mike might also be concerned, however, about a Destroy Evil, right? If you just play out of the Phalanx, Tristan does have double Destroy Evil, right? If you Destroy Evil the Citizen's Arrest, it doesn't do anything, right? The dragon comes back into play as a 0/0.
That is a very safe place to have a Citizen's Arrest for the long term. And as we've seen and as we've known, Mike is a long-term thinker, right? He is always thinking about how does this go from here? And he's just going to have to take it down to 9 goes Sigrist. And there's a Molten Monstrosity off of the Enlist. Oh, but there's a Citizen's Arrest off the top for Sigrist. That is what he needs to see.
Yeah. Mike had the option of double blocking there, but I mean, you're 2 for 1-ing yourself, however you prevent Monstrosity. But Tristan can play any other creature, right? So.
Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where, you know, if Mike had had a chance to see Tristan's hand for some reason, he would have made definitely different plays.
Yeah. So do you just go for the double spell play here? It just seems so convenient to do so, right? It's just you're using your mana just perfectly. You go Captain's Call, 1 mana 4/4, right?
I think you just have to.
Yeah.
This draw from Tristan Wylde-LaRue has been fantastic, though. Oh, he draws a swamp, so he actually can kick the Phyrexian Missionary.
Tristan probably wants to get aggressive here, but good shot that Mike just blocks everything, so might be interested in just running out the other monstrosity in his hand before he attacks. Just thinking about the potential double block options here. You got the Phalanx and perhaps the Atrocity in front of the monstrosity. Oh, or just attack for 8. I mean, this is a lot of trample damage.
It really is. Oh, Sigrist is just looking at this Coalition Warbird like, why?
Do you think Sigrist just takes 4 here and just goes for the 1-for-1 trade here?
I do think so, yeah.
Go, please just don't have Destroy Evil here, so I take 8.
Yeah. I mean, he still would survive.
Yeah, so not dead. Needs to get it out of his hand one way or another.
Very sticky spot here for Mike Sigrist. Tristan Wylde-LaRue applying maximum pressure here with the most aggressive archetype in the format. He's drafted himself a beautiful deck.
There is one combat trick that Mike also needs to be mindful of, which is Furious Bellow.
Right.
There is one copy of that.
And he would survive that as well, though it would be hard to imagine him winning the game if Tristan had that, as it would wipe out any blockers put down and be responsible for a heck of a lot of damage.
And another instance here, I mean, when Tristan's on the play where Cruelty of Gix might be a little too slow.
It could be.
Potentially. So triple block here. Mike's blocking this way. Doesn't get blown up by Destroy Evil. Sure, Furious Bellow would suck, but you don't die to a Furious Bellow here. You take you take 3, go down to 6, get 3 scries, try to find some additional removal spells.
Okay, Mike's going to breathe a sigh of relief there that just happened the way that he had hoped. Doesn't want to swamp. Another Phalanx actually doesn't look too bad here.
Cost 3, so won't be able to go Arrest and Phalanx next turn.
That is tough.
Had he blocked with just the Phalanx, he would have been able to.
Yeah, he doesn't know about the second Molten Monstrosity waiting in hand. And he's going to bottom it.
That goes on the bottom.
Bottom, bottom, bottom. He's digging.
Destroy Evil would be a nice, clean answer to both of these large creatures that's going to be on the battlefield here for Tristan.
Boy. Destroy Evil off the top here with Citizen's Arrest in hand for the perfect 5-mana double removal spell. Oh, okay, Splatter Goblin's not bad.
It's not bad. You're going to get one of the 5/5s off the battlefield. Mike is now in no position to play around anything.
No.
Right, just going to make the perfect blocks.
Yeah, Tristan Wylde-LaRue with a real opportunity here, especially if he can draw some type of instant speed interaction off the top. No, it's a mountain. He does have Sprouting Goblin at the ready, however, so we may see another card from him.
You'll see a sacrifice here.
Let's see if he can find some removal spell. Ooh, Argivian Cavalier, so not too bad.
Right.
He can play Griffin Protector and then Cavalier next turn.
Tristan just going to the skies now. This is not an answer for the Protector. Next turn, Tristan can attack for 4 with the Protector. And Mike has 1 turn here.
He needs to find a removal spell. Yeah. It's especially awkward because it can't be Destroy Evil because Tristan can get in for 4 and then just not pump up the Protector in any way and get in for 2.
Citizen's Arrest number 3?
Yeah. Extinguish the Light. We haven't seen that this game yet, right?
I don't believe so.
So that could be it.
Yeah, but Mike has to find something here. I don't know if there's a flyer in the graveyard.
I was thinking
don't
that
believe
too.
So. If he draws a Cruelty of Gix, if there's a flyer in the graveyard.
Yeah, the Devastator is under arrest and also wouldn't be the one.
Right.
So, all right, but this is a huge attack now from Tristan. It's a 1-turn window now for Mike Sigrist. Can he find an answer for Griffin Protector? And it's another Phyrexian Warhorse. And that means the red-white deck of Tristan Wylde-LaRue is going to take down this opening match and get him 1-0 at the World Championship, right where you want to be, especially against a tough competitor and a tough matchup too.
I mean, if you're Tristan Wylde-LaRue, this is your first World Championship, right? You're among the top challengers going up against one of the best limited players in the field, right? This has to feel great for if you're Tristan Wylde-LaRue here. He's got a fantastic deck here, not just beating down, chipping in for damage here, there when he can, and has even found opportunity to grind out Mike Sigrist's deck here in the late game.
Sigrist casting Phyrexian Warhorse,
Oh,
which is...
excuse me, not dead on board, right?
Oh, because he can shrink with the Goblin?
He can sacrifice the Goblin and give the Griffin Protector -1/-1. Tristan still needs to find a creature. Has 2 draws to find it, though, with that Goblin, though.
Yeah, it won't take much. And
That'll
there it is
do it.
right there, Balduvian Berserker. And remember, Sigrist is Hellbent. He has no cards in hand, so he can't even bluff something at this point.
Yeah. Just needs to play any creature, and that'll be it. Oh, 2 creatures.
And that will pump up the Griffin Protector, and that's going to be a good game here from Mike Sigrist as he extends the hand, and we're going to see Tristan Wylde-LaRue pick up match number 1 in Limited from Mike Sigrist. A great start for Tristan.
Yeah. This has got to be very, very disappointing here if you're Mike, right? This is
He looks disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, kind of coming into this is his bread and butter.
Yes.
Right? He is the limited guy.
Yes.
So going in, you have to be thinking, all right, coming in, limited portion, my specialty,